So we have some massive news about Tesla's full self-driving, and we had NIO's earnings as well happening, so there are a lot of moving pieces in the EV space right now. And as we've seen, a few EV stocks have been on a very nice run lately. But is the pain finally over for the EV stocks and we're on to the races again like we were in 2021? Or is Wall Street looking to screw us over once again? So we'll talk about all that today, get into the ins and the outs of exactly what Wall Street's saying about all this. So just make sure you like the video if you like getting the truth without the hype, because that's exactly what you're going to get today, guys. So I know there's a lot going on right now everywhere else in the world, but let's jump into the video and see exactly what Wall Street's saying about that and see exactly what we can kind of glean from all this.
Diane King Hall joins us from New York. Let's talk some Tesla. Diane, good morning. Up $25 in like 3 days, Tesla, while the rest of the market kind of went into a meltdown mode.
I know, exactly. And even when you see a little bit of pressure on the overall market today, Tesla is trading counter to that. Here's the latest with regard to Tesla. It is revealing new plans. We'll call it a roadmap. They're calling it that, so we might as well stick with that, for FSD, full self-driving, right, to roll out in overseas in Europe and China by the first quarter of 2025. They've talked about that before. Now they're giving a timeline to this, a target for this, right? So this is their new timeline for FSD overseas. And keep in mind, a good chunk of Tesla sales comes from overseas. In fact, about a fifth of its sales comes from China. Now, of course, this...
All right, so we'll go ahead and stop it right there. As you could tell, she was a little bit annoyed with the Tesla calling it a roadmap there. And that's... as much as I'm a Tesla bull and as much as I enjoy Tesla, I can't say that whenever they give timelines, everybody rolls their eyes at them nowadays. This is what happens when you repeatedly say things are next year and then it doesn't come next year. Or you give very, very vague timelines like that. Wall Street, and I don't know very many on Wall Street that actually believe it whenever Elon says that. If they're a bull, they just say, oh, it's Elon time, so it may be here, it may not be here. And obviously folks that are kind of either neutral or bearish on, obviously if they're kind of neutral on it, they just kind of roll their eyes and go, yeah, okay, whatever, we'll believe it when it shows up. And then obviously the bears obviously run with it as it's the worst thing ever, and of course go to the opposite direction of ridiculous. So I pretty much ignore that sort of stuff there. In regards to FSD being released overseas, for me, I know there's going to be folks out there saying this is a catalyst for the stock. It might be. I think it might be a catalyst for the stock in the future. What I call this is kind of a precursor. This is kind of greasing the skids, per se, for folks who have wanted it overseas to finally be able to get their hands on it. But remember, this isn't approval. It's not done. It's not all the way there yet. So it's just something that's, may get a few people interested, may have a few folks obviously purchasing it at that stage, may give us a nice little bump. But in regards to mass adoption or anything else like that, it's a step in the right direction in terms of that. But until we actually solve it, this isn't this mass catalyst for the stock. We have to actually solve it, then get the regulatory approvals and all the other things on it. Not regulatory approval to have it in the car, regulatory approval to actually use it on the road in regards to the liability shifting to the appropriate parties and all that sort of stuff. That is many years down the line from now. As of right now, obviously things could change, of course. We don't know. Again, it's on Elon time, so who knows? It could be next week. It could be, a decade from now. We don't know at this stage. So no doubt, this is a positive move. How much does it add to the market cap? I don't know. I don't know how many folks are going to purchase FSD after it becomes available in their vehicles overseas in regards to that. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But I know it's not going to add this, $1 trillion to the market cap or anything next year or anything crazy like that, like a lot of folks like to push. Just not going to happen this time around. Maybe in the future, that'll be what it adds, but we're not to that stage yet. So it's definitely not worth including in your calculations at this stage, because we got to get all the way there and, kind of not put the cart before the horse, per se.
Hinges on a regulatory approval. So that is one of the things that this hinges on, but they are expecting to get that in terms of the...
Yeah, and that's regulatory approval just to have it in the car there, not that it's approved for full-time use outside the vehicle. So make sure you're kind of delineating that there in regards to that. And I agree. I do think that they'll approve, having it in the vehicles altogether, just like we've had it here in the US for a really, really long time. Same exact thing. I think that will get approved. That's not the regulatory hoop I'm talking about. I'm talking about the whole, after it's done, finished, release, available to the public, appropriate liabilities and everything else. Then you have the, that's when the regulatory piece comes into play, and some of the politics and some of the other stuff that kind of comes along with that. That to me is going to be a much longer journey. It's not like all of a sudden it just bang, it's good to go. And next day, everybody can use it. There are approvals involved in that. Some of them will go quickly, depending upon the area of the world that they're in. Some of them are going to take a lot more time. It's going to be all over the map there. So wait and see on that one. But that's the approval that they're talking about right here.
With regard to FSD overall, there's also expected to be an improvement in mileage for FSD. That includes here. They're planning to roll out FSD version 13 next month. Versus the current version that exists here. And sometimes you'll see complaints online about the range. So this is expected to address that. In addition to the overall growth of FSD and the plans to roll it out overseas, the company's also planning on adding it to the Cybertruck very soon as well. So it's leading to an advance in shares of Tesla today. I mean, as you mentioned, they've been gaining ground this week. So it's another boost for Tesla, especially when you think about the haircut that it took off the back of its earnings when, one, they didn't do as well as expected. But we know very much that Elon Musk likes to cast the future for the company. And so investors are kind of getting back in on these bets on the future of the company.
This is pretty interesting that the stock has been moving counter to the general tech market and other AI stuff while these headlines are hitting. I do still think there's
I don't know why he's surprised. I guess because he's Wall Street. When Tesla was getting beaten up, the rest of tech was booming. And you kind of see, I hate to call it rotation of money because it's much more complex than that. But generally speaking, this is why we here on this channel are constantly kind of almost counter buying per se. We're not chasing all the hot stuff. We're buying Tesla when nobody wants it at 145, 160, 180, whatever the case is there. That's when we're buying Tesla, not chasing it right now whenever, hey, the rest of the stock market, a lot of our stocks have gotten beaten up the past few weeks. And here's Tesla running up and giving us a nice run. Well, I'm not buying it then. I want to buy it whenever it's beaten up. It just kind of goes counterintuitive to everything that's out there, obviously on shows like this, CNBC, mainstream media, everywhere else like that, and mostly on YouTube. There's some YouTubers that kind of do the opposite there. But in general, everybody's kind of chasing the momentum per se, and I'm not a trader. So I'm not a momentum trader. I just want to buy undervalued assets there. And that's why, to me, why it makes sense that Tesla's moving a little bit right here, because you have folks moving out of some trades that were hot and trying to move into some of the undervalued trades and move those up. That's kind of Wall Street's game. I'm not playing Wall Street's game. I don't care about that. I just know year in and year out, if you're patient in investing, Wall Street will give you opportunities repeatedly in the stocks that you want. Not at the time that you want that, but in time, you will get that discount that you want on that stock that you want to buy. And so that right there is kind of the opportunities that I'm looking to spot here.
Underappreciated story here on the self-driving stuff, given that everyone's so eager for AI-driven products, and we're kind of looking around, we're going, all right, where are the consumer products? We got Microsoft Copilot, all right, fine. Some people are buying that. We got the new iPhones coming out. We don't know who's going to be buying that. Google updated their phone. And then we've got Tesla, which has been like a decade in the making, revolutionizing like robotic cars. It seems like still they have something to contribute to this theme that the market has been very, very cynical so far on their ability to deliver.
It's true, but it looks like the demand picture is improving. And when we talk about the demand for EVs, it's not just here in the U.S. Again, there's been an increase in demand in China. Well, I know we'll talk about NIO in a short while, but you're seeing, kind of more record adoption there. So that's beneficial to Tesla as well. They may not be able to sell everywhere in China due to just the regulatory climate and, kind of the government being, say, a potential client. But the demand is there for Tesla overseas. So that is why they're also launching FSD there. The target they've said now is first quarter of 2025.
Okay. All right. Well, look, in the meantime, if Tesla's going to be able to try their self-driving in China next year. And
yep, all makes sense to me. This is nothing new. There was nothing new in what she said outside of the FSD coming to first quarter 2025. Nothing new. The Chinese, the issues in China have well known. Okay, so what? They can't sell to the government. There's billions of people in China. Plenty of TAM to go after there in China. And more importantly, Chinese government has said, hey, 2030, everybody's going to be EVs. Which of course they, in their government client, like it, not whatever you want to call it, in their country, if the government says, hey, everybody's off of that, and here by 2030, everybody has to be off of that and be on that at 2030. It will happen if the government wants it to happen. So that obviously is a huge benefit to Tesla as well. I'm sure you'd like to be able to sell the Chinese government too. Chinese government said, no, it's got to be only Chinese companies. Okay, fine. No big deal there. But this is not new. This is not news. And this is not what's moving the stock price, more importantly. This is just traders playing trading games in the end. And this is why discipline and patience is so important in investing.
NIO's telling us maybe that demand is firming here somewhat. That's not a bad little story for a sector that's been just demolished for the most part, which is China EVs over the past year. NIO trying to tick up this morning, 6.5% rally.
Yeah, look, when you're looking at the ADR, it is on the move. They did better than expected when it comes to their latest quarterly numbers. Adjusted EPS was, when you translate it to dollars, a loss of 30 cents a share. That was better than the expected loss there. Revenue came in at $2.4 billion. They had record deliveries for their premium smart EVs. They delivered more than 57,000 of them. The CEO pointing out that accounts for rather 40% of market share in that segment. In terms of what their guidance is, their expectation is for sales between 2.63 and 2.71 billion. That's for the third quarter. Deliveries are expected to come in between 61,000 to 63,000 units. The expectation for Wall Street in terms of sales, 2.5 billion. So the guidance is better than what's expected, and the expectation for delivery is 57,000 vehicles. So again, the guide for NIO is coming in better than expected. So they're not just performing better in what's essentially the rear view mirror, they're performing better in terms of what the expectation is for NIO.
Okay.
Yep. So right there, she's discussing the earnings. Having been through them, it was another earnings call, very, very similar to the past earnings call. You're seeing growth, which is good news. The bad news is that management still has not laid out the path to profitability yet, which is going to keep the stock firmly trader controlled, like I've been telling you guys for a long time. They had a path to profitability. They got off that path to profitability, decided they were just going to burn cash, I guess, because they get the government guarantee, whatever the case is. Now they've gotten some outside investment and some other things working in there. So they're continuing a lot of the branding and a lot of the other things around NIO expanding, as opposed to giving us that path to profitability, which is going to keep larger investors out of the stock until they do that. That's just the reality. I know I got hammered for saying, hey, I think it's going to trade in the 5. We might see, over $10 by the end of the year, but I really thought it was going to trade in that range. And I think at the time it was trading at $8 or $9. I basically gave it a range of, I think, 5 to 15 total in regards to that. And that's exactly where it stayed. As a matter of fact, it went down below the $5 mark that I kind of said it would be range bound in. That is the game, guys. Whether you want to call me a bear, you want to call me whatever the case is, I'm trying not to be bearish. I'm trying to give you guys the reality of how this stuff works and what large investors are looking for in earnings in regards to that. So regardless of my personal feelings on the stock and what they're doing, the reality is Intel isn't trader controlled anymore, and we get the catalyst to take it from trader controlled over here to more institutional control and just some larger buyers in general that aren't just going to trade it up and down in these whatever the heck range they want to keep it bound in. That's how the stock is going to move. So we needed that path to profitability. And again, remember, everything's translated as well, but we got some better language, but we still did not get, hey, by X amount date, we expect to see profitability here. We did not get that this past earnings call. So until we get that, it's going to stay trader controlled. And there's not a whole lot to quote unquote report on NIO. It doesn't matter what else they're doing because that's all just stuff in the background until they stop burning cash and they start turning profitable or start on that path towards getting more and more profitable and more importantly, guiding to that. Because remember, Wall Street wants to front run everything. So we'll definitely get a front run on that. Where it's going in short term, who knows? Right now, traders are going to do what the heck they do with it. Right now, EV is the hot trade overall, it seems like. Definitely money coming to Tesla, money coming to NIO. That's just the reality of the stock market and the market that we're in right now.
This has been a big disappointment, series of disappointments. So nice little beat, guidance going in the right way. The Chinese stocks haven't been doing wonderfully, so maybe this will try and perk them up, but not a whole lot. FXI up 10 bips today. Been basically stuck in the same level for much of the summer now into fall.
And of course, we'll kind of end the video right there. They go into some other things. But he's right. The Chinese trade has been off for more than a year. I've seen some great Chinese companies with some great beats, great guidance, great profitability numbers, and still getting beat down. The Chinese trade is just out for now. Maybe this helps bring it back in. I doubt it. I can't imagine that The Chinese EV market is going to lead the charge back for all the other Chinese stocks that are out there. But hey, I could be wrong. Again, this is Wall Street's game, not mine. My job as an investor is to find those undervalued assets, buy those assets, and then, of course, let Wall Street do whatever the heck they're going to do in the meantime, but stick to those fundamentals in the end. So overall, my take on this is encouraging, but I'm very, very cautious. Everybody wants to run to the moon about everything. Tesla to the moon, NIO to the moon, the folks that cover NIO, the folks that cover any stock out there, even stocks that I love. Palantir to the moon, everything to the moon. In regards to EVs, I think we're kind of at the beginning of getting out of the doghouse per se. And it's right on timeline with what Elon said, actually. So for as much criticism as I know he gets, and some of it's rightly so, some of it's not, obviously, in regards to that, he has been spot on that we're starting to see that light at the end of the tunnel there. So maybe we are seeing the slow crawl out for EVs. Do I think we'll see those dizzying speculative 2021 highs again? No, some stocks will absolutely hit that number at some point in time, but it's not going to be like, hey, anybody with a contract or just the word EV and it's going to, multi-billion-dollar market cap there. We're not going to see that again, but maybe this is the start of that slow creep out for EVs, and maybe we can pick up some momentum here towards the end of the year as the Fed starts to lower interest rates. So I am cautiously optimistic that we have some things moving in the right direction across the board in terms of Chinese stocks. In regards to EVs, of course, that would include Tesla and NIO as well. And if you need help with valuations, understanding price targets, setting price targets, you want to see all my buy and sell alerts in real time, see my complete watch list complete with price targets, you want to take 5 courses for free, use our stock analyzer tool for free, get your free coaching, and so much more, guys. Check out the pinned comment down there and see if a membership for my group's right for you. If you lasted this long in the video, I might have left something special for you down there. So make sure you check it out and get your membership and see if a membership's right for you. And click this video here if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in this market. And click here to see my exact plan for this market. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.